Motorcycle.com, we've been longtime proponents of naked sport bikes, especially street fighters that offer major league performance and accommodating ergonomics. We've often said you could ride these bikes to a racetrack, do a track day, and then ride home. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to ride to Chuckwalla Valley Raceway, do a track day, and then ride back home for 2 days of fun on some of the coolest sport bikes that you can buy. Spoiler alert, there's no losers here. Great day of street riding, V-twin, V4, inline 4, cross-plane, inline 4, wonderful 4 bikes. Evans, what do you think? Which one's your favorite so far on the street?
I was really surprised by how much I liked the FZ-10. I got on it the first time. I hadn't ridden it on a road like this before. I'd ridden it around town, and it just amazed me. The suspension worked great. It turned in really easily, not as light as a BMW, but still really easily. And the sound, I think it rivals that of the V4. I know that's heresy amongst these people,
No.
but the sound of it rivals the V4.
I'm a big V4 fan, of course, but that thing does sound delicious.
Well, it is a V4 with a cross-plane crank, right? It effectively is a V4.
But you know what it is? It's down 20, 25 horsepower to these other ones.
You know, on the street, it didn't really bother me. I didn't really notice much difference on the street today. Did you?
No, it's plenty fast enough on the
It
street.
seemed like it had enough poop for me on the street, on the road.
I just wonder if a consumer is gonna go, gee, if I spend just $2 grand more for the Aprilia, I'll have 25 more horsepower. And cornering ABS. And Brembo M50s.
This is a hell of a motorcycle also. It's like you said, there's no lose. I could live happily ever after with any of these 4. And I don't know if I say that much about when we do a big group test. I don't know if I've ever said that about all of them. There's usually 1 or 2 that aren't stinkers, but you don't like them as much as the other ones. But all 4 of these are pretty damn good.
So yes, the Aprilia V4, the 1100. This guy over here has got the 1000, and we gave him a spin on the 1100, and what do you think?
It's kind of night and day. Unfortunately for me, because I already have the 2015 Tuono. It's a great bike for sure, but I think that they've knocked it out of the park with the new, the 1100 engine, the quick shifter, up and down. The TFT display, the fueling is amazing on this thing. It works great on the road.
Yeah,
it's an amazing motorcycle for sure.
And the Brembo M50s are delicious, just like on the KTM. They got M50s like they used to. And the KTM, I think, would you all agree, this is kind of the oddball because it's a V-twin, 1300cc compared to 1000, 1077cc, 4 cylinders. And it's taller and it feels ganglier, and I think tall guys or big guys are gonna like this as their sport bike. They'll feel more cramped on the Aprilia. But for me, the seat height's a bit tall and I kind of feel more comfortable on the 4 cylinders.
Well, I'm a little taller than you, and I really like the riding position of the KTM. I like the fact that you feel like you're forward. I mean, if you hold your head the right way, like if we took the mirrors off for the track, I could ride and feel like I was just floating in the air because there's nothing there in front of me. It's so compact in the front.
Yeah, this is my favorite. I feel like the ergos on that are perfect for me too. I feel like I'm sitting in my high chair and my mommy's feeding me like a big bowl of torque. You know, like it's 13. It's the biggest motor. It's got the most torque, and you know. And what did this one? The FZ-10 had what that the other ones didn't have before?
Cruise control.
The magic of cruise control. They all have that now, so
Because
it's easy
you
to
said
get here.
something.
Because I brought it up enough times that they put it on all of them.
Cruise control on all of them.
It's
TFT
awesome.
dash on the KTM matches the Aprilia.
Yeah.
BMW still got the older kind of style, but it's pretty. It's quite easy to read anyway. Anybody looking forward to the track?
We'll have fun at the track.
Chuckwalla all day?
Chuckwalla.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Bring
All right,
me.
well, let's get out of here before it turns completely dark and get ready for our track day tomorrow. All right, so we said on a Street Fighter you can ride to a track day, do a track day, and then ride home. Still get a ride home, but we had a great day at the track, Chuckwalla Valley Raceway with track experience. And I don't know, on the racetrack, I think the Aprilia is the best. What do you think, John?
I was going back and forth with it in the BMW for a large part of the day, but toward the end there, when we had empty tanks and the tires were kind of shagged out, and I wound up liking the Aprilia a little bit better. It's a little more stable. The BMW with those light wheels of itself, and is it 20 pounds lighter than the Aprilia? It handles a little quicker, but for me at my pace, I like the stability of that Aprilia. The V4 It's like it has a little booster stage that kicks in at some RPM, right? Kind of scoots you down. Not that the BMW is by any means slow, because they're both 160 horsepower, right? Or close to it, within 2 or 3 horsepower of each other. They're both rocket ships.
It's part of the lineage, right? The Tuono is based off an RSV4, which we loved. It won our Superbike Shootout.
Yep.
The S1000R is based off the S1000RR.
That almost won the
And that
Superbike
FZ-10, that's got a lot of R1 components there.
Shootout. The FZ-10 is awesome, even though on the dyno it only made, what, 130?
136.
Man, it's not too far off the pace, but out here coming down the straights, you wouldn't know it most of the time.
Well, I kind of felt it, but it does haul pretty good ass. The Super Duke, though, isn't based off a superbike, but it pulls like a freaking superbike because it's got 1,301 cc's and the most torque by a long shot. Sean, you're the big guy on the big bike. Is that a perfect match?
I don't think it is. It is a perfect match if this bike doesn't exist, right? The Super Duke does have more room, and a big guy normally would appreciate more room, but it has a little less wind protection. Of course, you could add a fly screen to it or something. But I noticed that after riding to Laguna and back on a Tuono 3 months ago, it was perfectly comfortable, even in straight lines for a long time on the freeway. And so, you know, at really low speeds around town, you've got a little extra weight on your wrist on the Aprilia, it seems a little less comfortable. And then you ride it on the freeway and all that weight goes away. But you don't have to hang on. On the Super Duke, you kind of have to hang on because you're sitting more upright and there's less wind protection. And that's the kind of the one thing for street comfort that the Super Duke's not so great at, would be long distance straight line stuff.
The Aprilia, I think, is the shortest seat to peg room because it's the only one of these 4 that we didn't drag the pegs on here at the racetrack. Yeah, even though you're a bigger guy, it still fits you fine. I think the FZ-10 is a really accommodating ergonomic triangle as well, and the BMW is not far behind it either. So these are street bikes after all. We brought them to the track to extract the maximum performance without killing ourselves off a cliff or something like that. But Ryan, how do these things rank up for you?
I don't know. I think for me, obviously I'm a little bit biased towards the Tuono because I spent my own money to buy one. But I think the BMW comes a close second in doing kind of everything well. At one point I had it in the garage and I had some other bikes and I had my fiance come and sit on the back of a bunch of different bikes, and some of them were bigger touring bikes, and she actually liked this back seat on the S1000R. So I feel like, you know, for doing everything, this is a good option, but the Aprilia V4 still is going to do it for me every time.
It's kind of the sex machine, right?
Yeah.
Even just firing it up, it just sounds so wonderful.
Yeah, everyone loves it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird for me. The ergonomics, even though it's a street fighter, it feels like they designed it at a racetrack. Because when I get into kind of a talk around here, then it fits me perfectly. But when I'm sitting up on the street, it's a little too committed for me. So it's not my favorite street bike. I like everything else about it, but not the ergos don't quite work for me. It could be as simple as a handlebar change.
We could put a taller handlebar on
yeah,
it.
a slightly different handlebar. the Super Duke is my favorite bike on the street. You kind of, even though it doesn't have much wind protection, you kind of sit down in it, and the gas tank kind of is up here, and it kind of blocks a lot of the wind. I'd put a little fly screen, whatever kind of little accessory. I love all the other aspects of it from the side. That steel truss girder frames looks really industrial.
Newly exposed
and cool.
subframe now, that steel trellis, and
Yeah,
it's also got the only one with a single-sided swing arm. Looks bitchin' from the right side.
And as far as street presence goes, or cool factor, right? You really can't beat the Super Duke car, particularly that side profile. It's like a bodybuilding praying mantis. You know, just super muscle bound, but also aggressive and stink buggy, and it's neat. It's just neat to look at.
Yeah, I think it's cool to look at. We were saying about the FZ-10 too. It kind of has that anthropomorphic. Is that the word I'm looking for? It looks like kind of a robotic look to it. They put some cool items on it. The foot peg brackets are all really nicely machined. They look like they'd be on an expensive bike.
It's a cool looking machine.
It's a cool looking machine all over. And if you're getting one for everyday use and you weren't ever going to come to the track, not that it's that bad on the track. The window between all four of these is really pretty surprisingly narrow. The FZ-10 is not bad at all.
And let's give the Yamaha props for being the cheapest bike here. Only 13 grand.
By far. And if you're going to buy one to ride every day, you know, the Yamaha dealers are all over. If something goes wrong, it's probably easy to fix. And did we do 10 most reliable manufacturers the other day? Wasn't Yamaha at the top and Suzuki or something? So, not that anything will go wrong with any of these European bikes, of course.
Of all these bikes, the FZ-10 was the one with which I was least familiar, and I'm super impressed with it. It's $2,000 less expensive than the second cheapest bike in the test, which is the Aprilia. And you would think, oh, well, for only $2,000 more, the Aprilia is the wonder slicing, do-all wonder gadget, right? But I could see buying an FZ-10 if you didn't know about the Aprilia and being super happy, or if $12,000 or $13,000 is the stretch, like that's just your absolute cap for what you can afford for your next motorcycle, you're not making a mistake by buying an FZ-10. It is, I mean, it looks cool. It works really well. I love those thick grips. They're more comfortable. It's less of these are a little more pencil-like, and those are nice and kind of relaxed for our old man arthritic knuckles.
For the street, it is a dynamite street bike, but it doesn't have the ultimate performance of these other three Europeans, right?
I didn't really ever miss the ultimate performance. I never missed it if it was missing. I mean, is it 25 horsepower down on these two? Yeah. These straights are a little too short maybe, although the back one's pretty long. I guess if you were on a really long, fast racetrack, it would show, but barely out here for me.
So yeah, you don't miss the horsepower. The dyno misses the horsepower. We got 135, 159, 159, and 162 according to the official Mo dyno. And that's you would think that's okay. Well, that bike doesn't even belong in the group. But after riding it both on the street and on the track, none of us agree with that statement. We all think it belongs in this group.
Well, as Chuckwalla is kind of tight and twisty, there's only a couple straights that aren't.
And Kevin just shrugs, so.
Yeah, Kevin can feel, we can agree to disagree.
Well, when it's down 25 horsepower, it's down 25 horsepower. I think it's the EPA neutering, right? You see the dyno trace, it goes climbs, and then 9 grand, then it goes flat.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to the GSX-R 1000 and a couple of the other Japanese bikes that are super bike. They have that thing at 11,000 to cut the noise, to start closing the throttle butterflies. Again, you can overcome that, right? And then you've got 150, 160 horsepower.
Not officially.
Not officially. We wouldn't endorse it.
The Aprilia's 15 grand, then you step up to the BMW, which of course, like all BMW test bikes, you can't get it in its base form, so it comes with an option package and the forged wheels, which are lighter, about 5 pounds lighter than the cast aluminum wheels, and that really endows it with agility that is almost astonishing. It's the most agile bike. I think in a canyon, that agility really plays to its strong points. But here on the racetrack, I don't know how much of a advantage it is, but it does add to the price. And speaking of option packages, right, the KTM, it's got a couple of option packages that brings it into the $18,000 zone, which it's an awesome bike, but 18 grand is a big gap to 13 and 15. So,
but the heart wants what the heart wants, and I wouldn't say it's overpriced. It's a very nicely put together motorcycle. Sounds really good, looks really cool. But when you've got $15,000 Aprilias and $18,000 Super Duke cars, at least in my book, the choice becomes pretty easy.
But this isn't even the top line Tuono, right? This is the RR. The factory version comes with Olean suspension. It's probably a nicer suspension, but this suspension is pretty damn good right from the base model.
Yeah, dynamically, it's the best bike in the group. I think we all agree, right? Like even with the base suspension, it still feels the best on the racetrack, and the BMW dynamic mode, which is more expensive, does work really nice on the street, keeps all the harshness out without getting loose or wallowy, like a street comfort suspension would when you go fast. So that's much appreciated.
Well, the best part about that is it's at a touch of a button, right?
Right. Yeah, you can make it flinty hard or super soft.
Yep. Well, all these bikes weigh about the same, except for the BMW. It comes in almost 20 pounds lighter, I think, and part of the reason is the forged wheels. Also new for the BMW this year is the Akrapovic muffler, which is titanium and carbon fiber. It looks bitchin', and it's part of the standard package now, so that helps cut its weight too.
Yeah, and the Yamaha's second lightest, it's at about 470. We got the Aprilia at about 473, and we've got the KTM at 478. KTM, of course, quotes dry weight in all their specs, so that number's not going to look like anything you guys normally are used to seeing. When we actually measure this, ready to ride like those, it is about, it's 478. It's in the same ballpark.
We've got 4 cool bikes on their own. Pretty amazing that the Japanese bike at 13 grand looks that good. The Aprilia, it's got the M50s, just like the KTM. KTM looks bitchin', the Aprilia sounds bitchin', and the BMW, it's functionally just a wonderful bike, and with its push button dialing of the suspension and cruise control, heated grips, there's a lot of value there too. All right, so if you're gonna take a Street Fighter to the racetrack, Ryan, which is gonna be your first choice?
Aprilia.
John?
Aprilia.
Yeah, for the racetrack, I'd say the Aprilia too. Sean?
Aprilia.
But how about on the street where most people are going to be using Street Fighters? Ryan, which is your first choice?
I don't know, maybe still the Aprilia.
John?
Misguided. I like the Super Duke.
I'm torn. I love the Aprilia. I think the Super Duke is the best sport bike for bigger guys, but maybe this big guy disagrees. For the street, what would be your first choice?
Aprilia.
All right, so subjectively, I think we all are pretty fond of the Aprilia, but to find out how they all rank, you really need to go to Motorcycle.com. So if you're watching on YouTube, click the link, go to Motorcycle.com, check out all the specs, weights, all the details. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a comment in the comment section.